So this is going to be section 2, lesson 1, and this section is all about the fundamental concepts of poker. So I know the last section was all about introducing you guys to what you'll learn in this course and just the pure basics of poker. Now we're starting to start breaking down, almost like building like a house of strategy. So we're going to start with the foundation or the fundamentals. And this is what this whole section is going to be all about. And the first lesson is all about understanding variance. So you guys might have heard of this term before. You guys might even know it in relation to poker. But what I'm going to tell you guys about in this section or in this specific slide is what is variance. So most simply defined, variance is the upswings and the downswings that are involved with playing poker. So as you guys probably know, that poker is a skill game and a luck game. However, good skill with just the right balance of luck will make you profitable over the long period of time. So variance is basically the difference between the upswings and downswings that happen. So good players sometimes will lose a lot of money in a few weeks span or whatever the case is, and even though they did every play or everything that was right, they lost simply because a card that shouldn't have came ended up coming, and that is referred to as variance. So variance isn't something that lasts forever, it's something that does last. Sometimes for a good period of time, depending on how much you play and stuff, you'll see some terrible swings of variance and all that, but in the long haul, it isn't something that is too bad. So more about variance. Variance is the difference between the amount of money that you expect to win on average over the long haul and the results that you see in the short term. So variance can go both ways. Most people specifically look at variance as the downside, but there is also an upside. Let's say you're based on the way you play it and your win rate per hour and all that stuff, you're only supposed to make $3,000 in a month, but you end up making $8,000 in that month. It's most likely because you had a really good favorable swing, an upswing that really helped you out. So variance in this situation ended up working for you. So variance can be good or bad. When you're running luckier than usual, it's great. You have a smile on your face. But when you're running worse than usual, it's horrible and it feels bad. So if your win rate is supposed to be $500 in a month, but you end up losing $800 in a month, that's simply because of variance. There isn't much that you can do when that happens. You just have to keep your head on your shoulders, avoid playing irrationally or using your emotions to play, and just keep grinding along, because that's what poker is. It's a game of patience and grinding. So let me give you guys an example of how variance might work, or just to show you guys like a visual on how variance really works. So if you end up going all in with, let's say, a hand like pocket aces, you're a favorite to win regardless of the hand that your opponent has. So whether they have pocket kings or king 10 or ace queen, whatever the hand that they have, is irrelevant, because you're always a favorite to win, because pocket aces is the best pre-flop hand. So now against a random hand, pocket aces has an 85% chance of winning. So safe to say that every 10 times you get pocket aces and you go all in and so does your opponent, 8 out of those 10 times you should win. So however, you lose with aces pre-flop 5 times in a row when going all in to random hands. So instead of going 8.5 out of 10 wins, you go 0 out of 5. And you're wondering what the heck is wrong, you're the unluckiest person in the world, whatever the case is. But unfortunately, that's just an example of variance, and it's going to change in the future. It's going to balance out. It always does. As long as you play enough poker, it'll vary back and forth, but you'll be finding that middle ground or that equilibrium point, which is going to set you right back towards profitability. So a lot of you must be wondering, what causes variance, or how does this crazy thing happen? Well, the element of luck in poker is what essentially causes variance. So if you guys didn't know, there is big element of skill that's involved in poker, but luck is also an integral part of the game that you need to consider. So we don't have control over the hands on the board or the hands that we get dealt, so this part is basically known as luck. So we have to live with the hands that we get, and we control our decisions that we do make. So regardless of how good you are, downswings will affect you sometime during your poker career. It's just a matter of when, and if it affects you well or if it affects you negatively, it's going to happen. You just have to kind of take it in stride, not end up playing outside of the realm of how you should be playing. Suck it up, and that's the best thing to do, because eventually you will come out of this variance and you will be successful and you will be profitable if you keep following the strategies on this. So what influences variance? So number one thing that influences variance is your playing style. A looser player is affected by more variance. So if you're playing 100 hands per hour, then you're probably going to expect a lot more variance than someone who's only playing 10 hands per hour. There's a huge difference because of the amount of activity that is taking place with someone playing 100 hands versus someone playing 10 hands. The second thing is the game. So Omaha obviously has a lot less variance than Texas Hold'em, but Texas Hold'em is one of the higher variance games. The third thing that affects variance is also the betting type. So low limit has much more variance than, let's say, limit poker. And lastly, the type of game. So more players will cause more variance than if there are less players involved. So if you're playing a heads-up poker, for example, the variance is much less because it's just four cards that are essentially being dealt between you and your opponent, versus if you have a 10-player table where 20 cards are being dealt between you and your opponents plus the community cards. That tends to cause a lot more variance, a lot more luck is involved in those types of situations. So that's basically what variance is, how it affects you, and I just always love to give people a heads up about variance because a lot of people end up taking this information, or they get a lesson or something, they go and apply it, they do everything well, and they come back and they say, well, this sucks, none of this stuff works, it's terrible, blah, 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 I played exactly how you said, but I lost. And you can quickly look at that hand analysis or analyze their play and say, well, yes, you did lose, but it's not because of bad play that you lost, it's because of bad luck. And luck and skill are two things that go hand in hand in poker. But when luck is in your favor or it isn't favoring your opponents and you have the right amount of skill, you can be very profitable and very successful playing poker. That's it for this section, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.